Have you ever felt inexplicably drained after spending time with someone you love? That subtle heaviness in your chest, the way your shoulders seem to carry invisible weight, the exhaustion that sleep cannot cure. There's an ancient Buddhist teaching that says, when a pickpocket meets a saint, all he sees are pockets. But what happens when the pickpocket isn't after your wallet, but your peace? What happens when those closest to us, family gathered around dinner tables, friends we've known since childhood, become the very sources of our spiritual depletion? Today, we're going to explore something rarely discussed yet universally experienced, the hidden spiritual warfare that occurs within our most intimate relationships. Not through dramatic confrontations, but through subtle energetic exchanges that leave us questioning our own intuition, our worth, and even our sanity. Part 1: The Art of Spiritual Recognition. When your soul whispers warning. Your body knows before your mind admits. Think of your energy field as a pristine mountain lake, clear, still, reflecting the sky above. Now imagine someone throwing pebbles into that lake. Small ripples at first, barely noticeable. But over time, those ripples become waves, and the clear water turns murky. This is what happens when we encounter what Buddhist teachings call energy vampires, beings who, consciously or unconsciously, feed on our life force. The Buddha taught us about the importance of sati, mindfulness, awareness. But he wasn't just talking about watching our breath. He was teaching us to become aware of the subtle energetic exchanges happening every moment. When you're around certain people, notice, does your breathing become shallow? Do your shoulders tense without reason? Does a cloud seem to pass over your inner sun? These aren't random reactions. They're your spirit's early warning system. In Zen Buddhism, there's a concept called Kanno-doko, the mysterious response between beings. It suggests that our spirits communicate on levels our conscious minds cannot always access. When someone carries heavy, draining energy, what some might call negative spiritual influences, your soul recognizes it immediately. That unexplained anxiety you feel, that's not a weakness. That's wisdom. Your inner Buddha nature is protecting you from energetic harm. Right now, wherever you are, take 3 deep breaths. With each exhale, imagine releasing any foreign energy that doesn't belong to you. Notice how your body feels afterward. Lighter? Clearer? This simple practice can be done after any interaction that leaves you feeling unsettled. 3 breaths to return to your center. 3 breaths to reclaim your peace. Your body knows before your mind admits. Trust that knowing. Part 2: The Mask of Manipulation, Recognizing Spiritual Sabotage. Truth bent becomes a weapon sharper than lies. There's a story from the Jataka tales about a clever fox who convinced a crow to sing, causing the crow to drop the cheese from its beak. The fox didn't lie. It simply manipulated truth for its own purpose. In our modern relationships, we encounter similar foxes, dressed in the clothing of concern, speaking in half-truths and suggestions. These individuals don't attack directly. Instead, they plant seeds of doubt like invasive weeds in the garden of your mind. I'm only saying this because I care, but don't you think it's strange that I heard something, but I probably shouldn't tell you? Each phrase, a tiny poison arrow dipped in the honey of false concern. The Buddhist concept of right speech teaches us that words carry karma. But what about those who weaponize words while maintaining plausible deniability? They create what I call reality distortion fields, spaces where up becomes down, where your memories are questioned, where your perceptions are constantly challenged until you no longer trust your own inner compass. Watch for the pattern. They isolate you from others who might validate your experience. They rewrite history, making themselves the hero or victim of every story. They twist your words, creating conflicts where none existed. This isn't simple miscommunication, this is spiritual warfare disguised as conversation. The Dalai Lama once said, "Sometimes silence is the best answer." When faced with such manipulation, your silence becomes a fortress. Don't engage in defending truth to those committed to distorting it. Instead, hold your truth quietly, like a monk holding a lotus, beautiful, untouched by the mud around it. Keep a small notebook. When someone makes you question your reality, write down what actually happened, just the facts, like a meditation on truth. Date it. This becomes your anchor to reality, your protection against gaslighting. Review it when doubt creeps in. Truth, simply witnessed and recorded, has immense power. Truth bent becomes a weapon sharper than lies. Recognize it. Document it. Rise above it. If this resonates with you, consider subscribing to Buddha Coha for more wisdom on navigating life's spiritual challenges with grace and awareness. Part 3: The Celebration of Your Shadows, When Support Becomes Sabotage. They water your weeds but cut your flowers. Picture a garden where someone claims to be helping, yet they only water the weeds while secretly cutting the roots of your blooming flowers. These are the people who light up when you're struggling, who suddenly have time for long conversations when you're in crisis, but who become mysteriously busy when you're thriving. In Buddhist psychology, we learn about mudita, sympathetic joy, the ability to celebrate others' happiness as our own. But what of those who practice its opposite? Those who find comfort in your discomfort, strength in your weakness. They offer support that keeps you dependent, advice that keeps you small, comfort that keeps you from growing. Notice the pattern. When you share good news, they immediately point out potential problems. When you start healing, they remind you of past wounds. When you begin to shine, they hand you a bushel to hide under. "I'm just being realistic," they say. "I don't want you to get hurt," they claim. But underneath these words lurks something darker, a spirit that cannot bear to see you rise because your ascension highlights their stagnation. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from attachment, but he also taught that we must be attached to our own liberation. When someone consistently dims your light, when they feed on your failures and starve at your successes, they are not your friend, they are a spiritual obstacle on your path to enlightenment. Think of the lotus again. It grows through mud and murky water, yet blooms pristine above the surface. These individuals want to keep you in the mud with them, afraid that if you bloom, they'll be left behind in the darkness. But here's the secret: your blooming doesn't diminish the pond. Your light doesn't steal from theirs. Only those carrying spiritual darkness believe in such scarcity. Each morning, spend 5 minutes visualizing yourself succeeding, growing, and blooming. See yourself surrounded by golden light. Notice who appears in this visualization, celebrating with you, and who seems to fade away. Your subconscious knows who truly supports your highest good. Trust these inner revelations. They water your weeds but cut your flowers. It's time to tend your own garden. Part 4: The Sacred Violation, When Boundaries Become Battlegrounds. No is a complete sentence, a prayer, a protection. In Zen monasteries, there are physical boundaries, walls, gates, designated spaces for silence. These aren't limitations, they're liberations. They create sacred space where spiritual practice can flourish. Yet in our personal lives, we often encounter those who see our boundaries not as sacred demarcations but as challenges to overcome. These boundary violators come with smiles and justifications. I'm family. We've been friends for so long. I'm only trying to help. They push past your no like it's merely a suggestion. They show up uninvited, physically or emotionally. They demand access to your time, your space, your energy, as if your life is public property and they hold the deed. The Buddha spoke of the middle way, not too tight, not too loose, like tuning a stringed instrument. But these individuals want you either completely open, so they can enter at will, or completely broken, so you can't keep them out. They test your boundaries repeatedly, wearing them down like water on stone, until you begin to question whether you have the right to boundaries at all. Here's what they don't want you to know: every time you say no and mean it, you perform a sacred act of self-preservation. Every boundary you maintain is a declaration that your energy, your peace, your very being is worthy of protection. In Tibetan Buddhism, there are protective deities called Dharmapalas, wrathful guardians who protect the sacred teachings. Your boundaries are your personal Dharmapalas, protecting the sacred teaching that is your life. When someone repeatedly violates your boundaries, calling when you've asked for space, touching when you've requested distance, demanding when you've clearly declined, they reveal their true nature. Love respects boundaries. Control demolishes them. Love asks permission. Possession assumes ownership. Close your eyes. Imagine a golden circle of light around you, extending 3 feet in all directions. This is your energetic boundary. See it glowing, strong, protective. Anyone who truly loves you will respect this sacred space. Practice feeling this boundary throughout your day. You have the right to decide who enters and when. No is a complete sentence, a prayer, a protection. Honor it as sacred. Part 5, The Mirror of Deception, when imitation becomes identity theft. They wear your face but carry another's heart. There's an old Buddhist parable about a monkey who saw the moon's reflection in water and tried to grab it, nearly drowning in the process. But what of those who don't just chase reflections? What of those who try to become them? In our relationships, we sometimes encounter individuals who begin to mirror us so completely that it feels less like flattery and more like theft. Watch closely. They adopt your phrases, your mannerisms, even your dreams. At first, it might seem like a connection, like finding a kindred spirit. But notice what happens next. They use what they've copied to confuse others, to blur the lines between where you end and they begin. They tell your stories as their own. They claim your insights as their revelations. They wear your authenticity like a costume while slowly convincing others that you're the imposter. This isn't admiration, it's spiritual plagiarism. In Buddhism, we learn about Anatman, the concept of no self, the understanding that we are all interconnected. But this teaching isn't about losing ourselves in others or allowing others to steal our essence. It's about recognizing our interconnection while maintaining our unique expression of the divine. These spiritual mimics cannot create, so they copy. They cannot inspire, so they imitate. They're like shadows that try to convince the world they're the source of light. But shadows have no substance. When you step into your full authenticity, when you shine without apology, their borrowed light dims, and their true nature is revealed. The great Zen master Dogen said, "Do not follow in the footsteps of the masters, seek what they sought." But these individuals don't seek, they steal. They don't walk their own path, they try to erase yours and claim it as their own. Each day, write down 3 things that are uniquely, authentically you, not your achievements or roles, but essential qualities. I see beauty in broken things. I laugh at unexpected moments. I feel deeply for strangers. These are your spiritual fingerprints. No one can truly steal what you consciously claim and celebrate. They wear your face but carry another's heart. Your authentic self cannot be replicated. Part 6: The Chains of Guilt, Breaking Free from Emotional Bondage. Guilt is not love's language, it's control's currency. Imagine a temple where, instead of incense, the air is thick with guilt. Where, instead of bells calling you to awakening, voices are reminding you of every debt, every favor, every moment you didn't meet someone's expectations. This is the atmosphere certain people create, a suffocating fog of obligation designed to keep you tethered to relationships that expired long ago. After all I've done for you, I guess I just don't matter. Remember when I helped you that time? These phrases are not expressions of hurt, they're chains, forged in the fires of manipulation and cooled in the waters of your empathy. Each reminder of past kindness comes with compound interest, a debt that somehow never gets paid, no matter how much you give. The Buddha taught about karuna, compassion. But compassion doesn't mean allowing ourselves to be held hostage by someone else's emotional demands. True compassion includes compassion for yourself. It recognizes that staying in toxic relationships out of guilt doesn't serve anyone's highest good, not yours, not theirs. Think of guilt as spiritual quicksand. The more you struggle against it, the deeper you sink. The only way out is to stop struggling, to become still, to recognize that the guilt you feel isn't yours to carry. Someone else placed it on your shoulders like a heavy cloak, convincing you it was a crown. Love says, I want you to be free, even if that means free from me. Control says, you owe me your presence, your energy, your life. Love celebrates your growth. Guilt stunts it. Love opens doors. Guilt builds prisons. And the most insidious part, the prison guard convinces you that you're the one who locked the door. Sit quietly and imagine each guilt someone has placed on you as a heavy stone in a backpack you're carrying. One by one, take them out. Look at each stone. Whose is it really? Is it yours to carry? Then, with compassion for yourself, set it down. Feel your back straighten, your breath deepen. You are not required to carry anyone else's emotional stones. Guilt is not love's language, it's control's currency. Stop accepting this counterfeit payment. Finding this helpful? Subscribe to Buddha Coha and hit the notification bell for weekly content on spiritual wellness and conscious living. Part 7: The Body's Wisdom, When Anxiety Becomes Your Spiritual Alarm. Your racing heart isn't lying, it's trying to save you. Your body is a temple, the Buddhist teachings tell us. But temples have guardian spirits, protective energies that warn when something unholy tries to enter. That sudden anxiety you feel around certain people, the racing heart, the shallow breath, the inexplicable urge to leave, this isn't weakness or social awkwardness. This is your body's ancient wisdom, older than thought, more honest than words. Science calls it intuition. Buddhism calls it prajna, direct knowing, wisdom beyond intellectual understanding. When someone carries dark energy, when their spirit is clouded with harmful intentions, your body knows instantly. It doesn't need evidence or logical reasons. It simply knows the way a deer knows the presence of a predator before seeing it. But we've been taught to distrust these signals. Don't be rude. Give them a chance. You're being too sensitive. We override our body's wisdom with social conditioning, staying in situations that make our spirits scream for exit. We take anxiety medication to silence the alarm instead of leaving the burning building. Here's the truth, that anxiety isn't the problem, it's the solution. It's your inner guardian saying, this person's energy is not aligned with your highest good. It's your Buddha nature recognizing what your conscious mind wants to deny. When your body reacts with fight or flight to someone who's supposedly safe, listen. Your body doesn't know how to lie. The Vietnamese Zen master Thich Nhat Hanh teaches about stopping, the practice of pausing to truly listen to what our body and breath are telling us. When anxiety rises in someone's presence, stop. Don't explain it away. Don't minimize it. Stop and listen to what your deepest wisdom is trying to tell you. Before and after spending time with someone, do a quick body scan. Start at your head, move down to your toes. Where do you hold tension? What changed after the interaction? Your body keeps an honest record of who nourishes you and who depletes you. Create distance from those who consistently leave you feeling contracted and anxious. Your racing heart isn't lying, it's trying to save you. Trust your body's ancient wisdom. Part 8, The Inverted Mirror, Those Who Smile at Your Tears. Beware those who find comfort in your chaos. There's a particular kind of darkness that doesn't announce itself with thunder and lightning. It comes disguised as concern, wearing the mask of friendship, but watch closely. Notice who arrives fastest when you're falling apart and who disappears when you're standing strong. These are the spiritual adversaries hidden in plain sight, feeding on your pain like it's their daily bread. In Buddhist cosmology, there are beings called pretas, hungry ghosts with enormous appetites but tiny mouths, never able to satisfy their craving. Some people walk among us as living pretas, eternally hungry for drama, for others' suffering, for the energy that spills out when someone is broken. They don't just witness your pain, they feast on it. Watch their micro-expressions, the slight upturn of lips when you share bad news, quickly hidden behind practiced concern. The way they lean in when you're crying, not to comfort but to absorb. The disappointment that flashes across their face when you say you're doing better. These aren't imagined slights, these are spiritual tells, revealing a soul that has chosen shadow over light. The Buddha taught about sympathetic joy, finding happiness in others' happiness. But these individuals practice its dark opposite, finding satisfaction in others' sorrow. Your tears are their wine. Your struggles are their entertainment. Your breakdown is their breakthrough, because in your diminishment, they feel elevated. They ask probing questions about your problems, but change the subject when you share solutions. They remember every detail of your failures but develop amnesia about your successes. They offer advice designed to keep you circling the drain, not climbing out of it. Maybe you're just not meant for happiness, they suggest, planting seeds of hopelessness in the garden of your recovery. Share something genuinely good that happened to you with different people. Watch their immediate, unguarded reaction, not what they say after they've had time to compose themselves, but that first flash across their face. Joy, surprise, disappointment. discomfort. This initial reaction reveals their true spiritual alignment with your well-being. Beware those who find comfort in your chaos. They are not your people. Part 9, The Sacred Return, Reclaiming Your Spiritual Sovereignty. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Now we arrive at the most important teaching, the path back to yourself. After recognizing these energy vampires, spiritual saboteurs, and hidden adversaries, what comes next isn't revenge or resentment. The Buddhist path never leads through hatred. Instead, it leads through radical self-reclamation, taking back every piece of yourself you've given away, loaned out, or had stolen. Imagine your energy, your peace, your joy as golden threads that extend from your heart. Over time, some of these threads have been grabbed by others, tangled in their dysfunction, knotted in their needs. The work now is not to fight for these threads but to gently, firmly, lovingly call them home. This is not selfishness, this is spiritual sovereignty. The Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree and faced every temptation, every attack from Mara, the personification of spiritual obstacles. But notice, he didn't chase Mara away. He simply touched the earth and said, I have the right to be here. This is your practice now. Touch your own earth, your body, your breath, your truth, and declare your right to peace, to boundaries, to relationships that nourish rather than diminish. Start with small acts of reclamation. Say no without explaining. Take time alone without guilt. Choose response over reaction. Each choice is a thread called home, a piece of power returned. You don't need to announce this process. Spiritual sovereignty doesn't require press releases. It happens in the quiet moments when you choose yourself over someone else's comfort. Remember, these people in your life, the ones who drain, manipulate, violate, and diminish, they are teachers too. They teach you the value of your energy by showing you what happens when you give it away carelessly. They teach you the importance of boundaries by showing you life without them. They teach you self-love by showing you its absence. Every night before sleep, visualize golden threads extending from your heart to everyone you interacted with that day. Gently, lovingly, call back any threads connected to people who drained you. See them returning to your heart, filling you with warm light. This isn't about cutting people off, it's about maintaining your own wholeness while in relationship with others. You are not required to set yourself on fire to keep others warm. Your light is meant to illuminate, not immolate. Here we are, dear soul, at the end of this journey through shadow and into light. We've walked together through the dark forest of toxic relationships, identified the spiritual predators hiding behind familiar faces, and most importantly, we've remembered our own power. The truth is, these challenging people in our lives, they're not demons to be exorcised. They're teachers in dark robes, showing us where we've abandoned ourselves, where we've traded our peace for approval, where we've mistaken guilt for love. They are the resistance that builds our spiritual strength, the darkness that makes us appreciate light. But here's what changes everything. You don't have to keep taking their classes. You've learned the lessons. You can graduate. You can move on to teachers who instruct through inspiration rather than depletion, through love rather than manipulation. As you move forward from this moment, remember, your sensitivity isn't weakness, it's strength. Your ability to feel energy, to sense intention, to know without knowing, these are spiritual gifts, not disorders to be medicated. You are not too sensitive to this world. This world needs your sensitivity, your awareness, your conscious choice to protect your peace. The Buddha's last words were, "Work out your salvation with diligence." Your salvation from toxic relationships, from energy vampires, from spiritual sabotage, it's not waiting for you somewhere else. It's here, now, in this moment of recognition, in this choice to honor your own spirit above all else. Every relationship in your life is a choice, renewed daily. Choose the ones that water your growth. Choose the ones that celebrate your light. Choose the ones that respect your boundaries and honor your being. And for those who cannot meet you in this space of mutual respect and genuine love, bless them and release them. Your paths diverge here, and that's not just okay, it's necessary. You are the temple. You are the Buddha. You are the sacred space that deserves protection, honor, and infinite compassion. Walk forward now, lighter, clearer, free. The dawn of your liberation isn't coming, it's here. And you, dear soul, you are ready for it. Take a deep breath. Feel your own presence. You are home. If this message resonated with your soul, please subscribe to Buddha Coha for more content on spiritual wellness, conscious relationships, and the path to inner peace. Hit the notification bell to join our community of souls choosing growth over comfort, peace over people-pleasing, and authentic connection over toxic bonds. Your journey to spiritual sovereignty continues, and we're honored to walk beside you. Remember, you have always had the power. Sometimes, we just need someone to remind us where we left it. Today, you remembered. Tomorrow, you reclaim. And forever after, you protect what is sacred, your peace, your energy, your irreplaceable self. Namaste.